WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is your weekly dose of the most the most successful socialist radio program in the New Orleans area. That's right, folks. It's Good Morning Comrade, only on WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3 and goodmorningcomrade.com. Jeff and Robert here on the show. Robert, what is poppin', my dude?
What's up? If you heard me yell when you were trying to do your monologue there, it's because I started up like a video game and I was playing it. I didn't know you were going. I'm the reason why y'all can't work from home. Like I am definitely the reason. Because
why? Because you always messing on. You like.
Oh yeah, no work is getting done. No work is getting done. Yeah, you left for 30 seconds and I already had a controller in my hand.
I went to go get a refreshment from my little mini fridge that I have in my basement cave down here, and I lost you. And
brother, I barely do any work at work. I'm too old. I'm too old to work. I'm retired. Semi-retired.
Young people, right?
Exactly. That's a young man's game. I'm gracefully bowing out of the labor force.
The hair's getting whiter. I tell you what, man.
I know, right? I need a haircut, man.
You got like a Santa Claus vibe going.
It's pretty crazy. I was brushing my beard today. It's pretty wild. It's not going to go. I mean, I'm going to have to shave. I got a Santa Claus like beard going, but I'm going to have to shave it back because have to make sure, with because we live in hell, that it's going to fit my, make sure I get a good seal on my gas mask. In case, yeah. I'm actually not joking. I have a bug out bag with the full like protest medic kit with gas mask, like welding gloves to throw back, CS canisters and CN canisters if I have to. Like, yeah, brother, this is the kit. This is how we do out here.
Definitely seeing like all of the stuff happen. Like we have in this moment in America, we mentioned this last week, like this, like emerging anti-war movement and a resurging labor movement, all while we have like the scary boogie monster of American fascism, like at its peak. At some point, something's going to give. I mean, you look at right now, you look at college campuses and you see all these like incredible protests that are taking place to fight back against the genocide that's happening in Gaza. And like, you just like see the state just unleash all of the violence on these kids. And then you also see at the same time, the United States media like literally just being like, oh, actually the protesters are the ones that are violent and they're making it unsafe for like Jewish students. And we were just like literally joking just last week about like that one like student there was one person, I don't know if they were a student or not, but they were like, they had like Jew on their shirt and they had like Star David or whatever. And they walking through one of these protests when they had just begun and nobody is even looking at them, but now all of a sudden, these protests are so violent and so unsafe for like Jewish students or whatever. It's so ridiculous. The rhetoric is out of control, and it is genuinely approaching like Mussolini levels at this point.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's so funny when you talk about those videos of just people showing their whole behind, out there, the Zionists. And I was at the Tulane protest encampment on Tuesday. Or was it Monday? Yeah, it had to be Tuesday. I'm sorry. Before they got beaten by the police and raided. Those people were out there. Like they weren't a ton of them. Like there was maybe a handful. Like you couldn't even feel field an NBA basketball team, including the bench. You couldn't do 5-on-5 with two lines. Definitely couldn't have a hockey team, a 3-line hockey team. But those people were out there and they were cutting up. Like I was laughing at them. Like it was funny. It's the same old thing I've always seen too, because they're quick to yell at like little girls that have, multicolored hair and that don't shave their legs, that go to Tulane or whatever. But when the 300-pound scary brown man of indeterminate, racial origin steps to that curb and I'm looking you dead in the eye, all of a sudden they look away. All of a sudden they don't have nothing to say. And I've seen this at multiple protests, and I am kind of saying I want the smoke. I mean, but saying all that, what I've learned from these kids more than anything is that there comes a time where you've laid out your case, you've shown people over and over again, hey man, this thing, whatever it is, what we're talking about, this is evil, this is why it's evil. Here is the objective material evidence of why I am against evil, and they will still try to pretzel logic. And at some point you have to be like, I do not parlay with genocide deniers. Because you have to do that for your own sanity. And then 2, you have to do that so these people can't soundbite you. With everybody's got a camera and a cell phone, obviously. And that's what I've learned, like the strength that I've drawn from these kids. And again, I say kids is not a pejorative. Young people, whatever. Like they've shown so much discipline, more discipline than we showed, during Occupy. And I say like they're building on, Occupy. They're building on Black Lives Matter.
There's always a line that you can draw. There's a tradition that goes back years and years and years in this country of peaceful protests that exists, and 100%.
But
tradition.
Go ahead. Yeah, these freaks are still out there, and it's like just even at this late date, to where obviously like anybody, I feel like a broken record. Anybody with, I've said this a million times this week, anybody with even a high school level, of history and anthropology, and especially like world politics, can understand how this is going to end, how it's already turning. It's over. This thing is over. It's just how many people can we protect until there's a free Palestine, and to come out at this late date and try to do violence on people, like what was done in UCLA, or try to shout down people, or if you're a talking head on CNN saying these protests are like, universities in Nazi Germany, where you have the Zionist brown shirts rushing in, the cops withdraw, Zionist brown shirts at UCLA rush in and beat old people and women and students. But you're gonna tell the kids that sat down in the grass, that's all they did was sit down in the grass, that they are like Nazis for opposing. I saw something. We're living in, we are like, this is my hot take. The hot take I have, and I mean this with my whole heart, how we all, as leftists, and especially young leftists, Gen Zs, like we always kind of joke like, the revolution. I think the rev's kicked off. I think this is it. I really do, because I don't see, like, we've crossed the Rubicon. There's no going back to where we were. The full might of global capitalist imperial power has been opened up on the people of Palestine, and it's also that war has now come home. So the kids who are getting their encampments raided, who their university staff, the people that they're going into debt for, and then their parents are paying money to keep them safe and protect them, are letting the police brutalize them and letting brown shirts come in and beat them. Those people are feeling the same things that Palestinians feel in the West Bank from settler violence. They're getting, I watched a video of UCLA, somebody on the UCLA board or chair, or I don't know what his position was, and they sent him out to negotiate with the students. And he offered them nothing material. He said, well, we'll see what we can do. We'll work on this. We'll do a blue ribbon commission on that. And he's offering them platitudes, but asking for material concessions just to say, well, there's nothing I can do. Then why are you out here knowing good and well that the cops are going to come and raid them and beat them and arrest them that night? That is how Israel has always negotiated with negotiating scare quotes, negotiated with the Palestinians. Mm-hmm. We're feeling it. This is the world. This is how it works. The real world. Yeah, it's here. It's come home. And I just don't see how we're going to go. I mean this in a positive way, because Pandora's box is always, the analogy is always in a negative. The box is open. We're not going to be able to put this toothpaste back in the tube. Mm-hmm. So I really think that this is the revolution. This is it. This is kicked off. And we were talking off air, and I just said, I can't believe how different of a person I was from even 2 years ago, to where I won't scold anybody for voting. I'll still vote in my local elections for individuals. But my last local election, state election, was the first election in my lifetime from being 18 years old I've ever not voted in, because I could care less. This is the least important federal, November 5th is going to be the least important federal election of my lifetime. Mm-hmm. And again, I will not scold anyone for telling me to, for saying I'm going to vote for Joe Biden because Donald Trump's worse. You are correct. But don't try to convince me. Don't try, because the line has to be somewhere. And I'm sorry, genocide is my line. It's my line. You're not going to sit here and tell me that I need to vote for a guy because the guy who might win he might do the thing that the guy you're telling me to vote for is doing right now. That makes no sense. And I just can't believe I'm that guy, because I used to make fun of people like that. I called them coffee shop Marxists, to where they'd stroke their beard and wear a beret, and they talk about, and I'm like, yeah, but what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, if you're not going to vote, what are you doing? And I realize in most of the ways, those guys were right. And I'm just, it's terrifying. And it's also enlightening. And I guess that the full mask that we live in an evil country. We live, like, we always knew it was evil. I always knew it was bad. But I always thought that somehow the referee would step in and go, man, we got to save face. Like, we can't be showing our whole behind out here. But we're going to show our whole behind. And then 10 years from now, 15 years from now, people are going to say, oh, well, I see why the kids did that. I can understand why Hamas did that. They had their cause was just. And, when there's a free Palestinian state. And I'm just like, that's just so boring. Why do so many people have to die to get to the place where we all know this is going to be? And all these people are going to try to pretend that they weren't out here showing their whole behind like they are. And it's the same thing happened with South Africa and Vietnam and Algiers. And it's just boring, and that people have to die over this or get beaten by the police. It's gross. It's disgusting.
That's what liberalism is, though, isn't it? Liberalism is, I am for, every civil rights movement except for the one that's happening right now. I'm against every war that's happening except for right now. Like, there is this perspective of, that essentially, like, all you don't have to engage, or you don't have to, like, take a stand in any of these politics and anything beyond the retrospective. What you're doing in that current moment, what ends up in the history books, is like I mean, obviously history is one of those things that's written by the winners, and like liberals, either they know it consciously or they know it subconsciously, and what they end up essentially doing is rewriting their own history. Joe Biden, for example, especially, was against, rather, things like busing, like when Kamala Harris called him out on the debate stage. That was true, but then all of a sudden, the history around Joe Biden was rewritten to where he's like, this extremely like this
He's
extremely
America's
progressive
grandpa. Yeah.
race, or like he was like Strom Thurmond, like him. He frequently, many times, said he was friends with like open racist Strom Thurmond. Like it was like, you know, like these kinds of things are not the exception to the rule. The current moment is, I guess, um not that specific from previous ones. It's just for us, like we're experiencing this now for the first time in our entire life, right? And what we're seeing is the people who were in power essentially acting like they always do. And then when time rolls around, when enough time goes past that people forget about a lot of this stuff because most people don't pay attention to it, they're gonna fudge the details and be like, oh, actually, whoever it is that comes, after Joe Biden or whatever. I think Joe Biden's in the dirt for this one. It's over. It's Jover for him. But like, there's gonna be people right now who are part of his administration who provided material support and leadership in support of this, who are going to essentially be the ones that get their image cleaned up and be the sort of like next round of ruling class. Does that make sense?
No, 100%. That's 100% correct. Is that that's exactly why the police that these universities are calling in, the jackbooted thugs, calling the Gestapo to deal with kids who sit in the lawn because
gassing, macing, rubber bullets, all the stuff, and like none of that, like this less like beating the kids' heads, running them out of there, literally doing all the stuff that we talk about when this show is going to release on the anniversary of Kent State massacre, and this is also going to be like, this is happening in like history ain't that far away. It's not that far past, if you know what I mean.
But the reason why this is different than BLM, or the reason why this is different than even Kent State, where people were murdered by the federal government, is that these universities, this isn't University of Cincinnati, this isn't University of New Orleans, this isn't
this is the Ivy League.
This is Tulane. This is MIT. Like these are and you hear when you listen to people talk about it, like Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski. When you hear other people on CNN talk about this, it's the indignant tone in their voice of how dare you? We were going to give you the keys to this empire. How dare you bite the hand that feeds you? To where BLM is just, these ignorant black people, they don't know any better. Yeah. They're stupid. Just wipe them out, like whatever. But it's an insult. It's an insult to the ruling class that their own class has risen up. Spelman and Morehouse. Joe Biden's supposed to come to Morehouse for their graduation. That's not gonna go. That's gonna be bad. Because at a minimum, every black person in that room with a cap and gown on is going to get up and walk out of there. They've already said that. At a minimum.
Which is why, it's part of why, by the way, they're canceling so many graduations right now, because they don't want students to make statements at their graduations, because that very often, those things are very often populated by political figures. You always see Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or whatever, one of the ghouls that run the country, like standing up before the crowd and being like one of them, and like talking about how you kids are our future. You have a bright future. Get out there. The world is yours, and you can seize it. But now you can't do that. You've taken that away from them, so they're going to take away your graduation. They're going to take away your moment to become like, when you become like you're supposed to be, at least in the liberal order, like establishing that you're, proud to be, like an adult or whatever, or released in the world and have this degree and make your life, dude. The guy, what's his name, O'Leary, Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, the guy they call Mr. Wonderful. Did you see him? He was like literally saying. He was literally saying on Twitter today, or not only on Twitter, but I saw it on Twitter. He was saying that, like, literally, we need to be tracking these kids that are at these protests, and we make sure that they don't get a job.
That's the thing too. Yeah, no, you're right. You're 100% right, and that the kids are straight up telling you in a very succinct way that there's nothing in your neoliberal order that you can threaten me with. Absolutely nothing. Like we don't care about a future career. We don't care about this institution. You literally have nothing to threaten us with. And when you take the most privileged people in the imperial core have risen up against the empire, it's over. Like, this thing is so over. And the neoliberal order is just walking around with like a chicken with its head cut off, flailing and drowning, and it doesn't know what to do. And every problem, all you have is a hammer, every problem's a nail. So all they know how to do is bring violence down on you. And these kids don't care about violence. They don't care about their graduation. They don't care about getting a job after this. And thank God to those professors. I've heard, an anecdotal story about, almost like, I was talking to my wife, is like, it's almost like a kung fu movie, to where somebody at UCLA got arrested, the student, and they emailed their professor and they said, "Oh, I'm going to need more time for my final project." And the professor said, "No. You have an A. There's nothing more I can teach you. You've learned everything that you needed to do.
The student has become the master."
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, no, you've passed the exam completely, and that's where we are.
Mm-hmm. And I want to circle back to history for a minute, because Jonathan Greenblatt from the ADL is literally trying to invoke like a lot of the history. He literally said on Twitter, like, the heroes of Seneca Falls, Birmingham, Stonewall, and so many others, they faced graver risks and never tried to hide their faces nor menace those with whom they disagreed.
Yeah, like, because there was no Canary Project. You piece of garbage. Yeah, and anybody who doesn't know what that is, look that up. Yeah, that's why.
Explain it. What is the Canary Project?
Well, Canary Project is it's an intelligence operation that the American government, and I'm talking to my right wingers right now, the American government allows Israel to carry out on American soil against American citizens, to where if they don't like what you say, then what they'll do is they'll dox you and shame you, and they'll spread your personal information all over the internet. And that's what the Canary Project is. And we allow this as the United States. We allow our colony to do this for some reason. I don't know. And I went to the Tulane protest and I wasn't masked up, and like all the students were, because I'm like, I'm old. I'm like, brother, if my job cannot survive, if I get arrested out here and my job cannot survive, I cannot survive my job getting a trespassing charge, then I don't need to work there. That's where I'm at. But I don't blame these kids. These kids don't need to do that. Protect yourself. But for me, I'm like, I have no capital. I have a decent job, but I ain't scared to lose it to speak out against genocide. So again, there's nothing you can threaten me with. I am at personally what I've heard it thrown around in the activist spaces. You've crossed the fear barrier. And like, I'm there, like, I'm ready to go to jail. I'm ready to die if need be, without a doubt, because I can't live like this. I cannot live like this in this country. So I'd rather not live here in any way that means than live in a fascist police state. Not doing it.
I also did want to circle back in a little bit to talk a little bit about the propaganda that's happening as well. So, like, you also see like such an inflation when it comes to like the actual like physical or violent like threats that are being quote unquote like put on these protesters. I mean, they're like, they're occupying buildings and they're doing like sit-ins like they did in the 60s and stuff like that. And you look at like Joe Biden's favorite television, Morning Joe, and you have like these like police commissioner guys coming on and being like, look at this. I have a chain in my hand. And these kids have used this chain to like lock down schools and lock down doors and break windows or whatever. And like with the least like bit of investigation, it shows that this chain that this cop is like freaking out about on television is actually a bike lock that the Columbia University is actually said like, y'all need a bike lock.
They sell it at the bookstore.
Like we have an extra special sale because you need them. Like they're literally just like pulling out all of the like weirdest stops to try and scare boomers who are watching MSNBC and Fox News and like whoever watches cable news in 2024. It's wild to see.
I mean, they're not violent. Yeah. So what do you do? Because you can't goad them into violence. They haven't done anything illegal. They literally, the majority of them are students and they live on the campus. So you have to expel them and then you can spin them and then trespass them. They broke in a window. Like what else is there? But again,
you gotta smash their heads in. If they broke a window, you gotta smash their head.
You gotta smash their heads in. But not the brown shirts that come running in there and screaming at and beating old women saying, you're not gonna survive this, old lady. You don't have a chance here, old lady. Like, but not that. Like this is Nazi-ish. Is what it's. There's nothing else you can say about it.
It's not. I mean, it's like super. Like it's not even like ish. It's like we're there. We are.
Yeah, we're here. We're here.
We're there. Like, and I'm not trying to be like, people say that stuff a lot. Like, and it's like they talk about like fascism in America or whatever. And sometimes I've sometimes that's a little bit of a exaggeration or something. And now, oh no,
it's not.
Oh no, this
not one bit,
real, bro.
It's the juxtaposition of, again, the synchronicity of how everything just feels like it's locking into place. Like, again, the students are experiencing what Palestinians have been experiencing since 48. The idea that January 6th happened to where you can run up in our nation's capital, yell, I want to kill the vice president, and I want to kill Nancy Pelosi, and the cops let you in. But when you try to sit down on the grass, the cops, they roll a Bearcat and they roll SWAT on you and they crack your skull. The juxtaposition of that. It's the as Marx would say, the contradictions have just hit a point where you cannot deny them anymore.
I've also seen, by the way, liberals compare what's going on at Columbia and within the schools across the nation to January 6th. And like saying that's like the same thing. And so like using that as a justification to essentially try and stomp that out. Which is just like so insane.
We didn't do on January 6th. If it was like January 6th, the cops would have been in there eating pizza. Yeah, like
except for like one person who was like,
yeah.
What was her? Whoever, I don't even care.
I know what you mean. But not Ashley Babbitt, but it might have been.
Yeah,
but the cops literally let those people in. Let them into the Capitol. They had law enforcement showing up, flashing their badges to the Capitol Police and let them in. So that is allowed. When you don't challenge Capitol, it's allowed. But when you want your university to get out of investments with Israel, and the way you decide to do that is to have a seat somewhere. Mm-hmm. That cannot stand. That's Pearl Harbor. It's a day that will live in infamy. That must be stamped out immediately. There's no hiding this anymore. We know
it's worse than January 6th to them.
Yeah.
because January 6th was ultimately not a threat to anything or anybody. It was just a bunch of freaks showing off their hindquarters to the nation on and like throwing a rage fit because their guy lost the election and they didn't want to accept it, and they're gonna like do this thing where I mean, you can say that it was an actual legitimate attempt to overthrow the government. Come on, dude.
It was,
but like saying that, using that and the response to that, which was like nothing, like literally let him in the doors as a justification to smash kids' heads and shoot rubber bullets and gas and pepper spray and mace and all this other stuff on kids who were peacefully protesting against war, just like is supposed to be an American tradition. That's a bigger threat again than what January 6th. January 6th is a joke. This is real.
Right.
I do want to circle back really quick.
Please.
And shouts out to Brace and the TrueAnon folks. I just got my copy of Storm the Capitol.
Oh, that's so cool.
A board game where you can relive that wonderful moment of January 6th.
It was pretty funny.
You listen to the HIVLP New Orleans. Good morning, Comrade. GoodMorningComrade.com. Robert, what's up?
You cut out for a sec.
Just doing station IDing.
Oh, okay. You said my name and something before that. It doesn't matter. But yeah, man. It's bad. I don't know how many times I have to do this every week where we go, it's bad. But no, this is it. Like, it's here. If you're not in a mutual aid group, please get into a mutual aid group so that way you can protect your neighbors and comrades, because all we have is us. Take care of yourself. Don't engage with these people if it's not in a good faith conversation. Just don't, because the people that I have the most smoke for right now are liberals who are, trying to tell me to go out and vote for Biden. And I'm like, I'm not doing genocide. I'm not doing it. I mean, I'm already, I can't control my payroll tax, but I can control, whether they get, I can control my vote, and I can control whether they get student loan payments back. And they won't be getting either of those things until there is an end to genocide. That's what I can do. So that's all I can do. And we can't vote harder. We can't vote our way out of this. It's going to take direct action and mutual aid from us all. And we have to protect everyone we can while the empire falls down around us. And that's what it's doing. And it just makes me infinitely sad. It makes me feel like I used to want to be an elected official. Like, that was my big dream, not anything crazy. Just like, if I could be local comptroller, like, that would have been, cool. Now I want no part of it. Okay. I want no part of anything being an elected official or being in municipal, state, or federal government. They got 4 years out of me in the Marine Corps. That was too much. I wish I could take that back, but I can't. Done, dude. I'm not discouraged though. When I say I'm done, I'm not discouraged. I feel enlightened. I feel like this scales.
Playing field for real now. Right?
Yeah. I see exactly what it is. It's like I was, kind of spouting off the, ranting the other day, and I was like, I've always thought, there's a lot of meme, especially with like the TikTok thing that's going, we're gonna ban TikTok or whatever, and I'm like, so a lot of young people are, they make memes about China, and they're just like, oh, your social credit score is gonna go up if you, say something nice about China or whatever. And I've always thought, like, even as a leftist, like, I would never want to live in China because my freedoms, my freedoms would be curtailed. My freedom to information, I would literally have to log in with my governmental ID to play video games. Like, they literally do that in China because they want to track how many hours. They don't want their citizens wasting, free time playing video games as little as possible. But now I'm like, I'd rather live in China. Because the thing is, at least they don't play in my face. At least they tell me exactly. I know where the lines are. I know what I can and I can't do. Over here, they play in your face. They tell you how free you are, until you test the boundaries of that freedom, and then they unleash hell on you. That's been my experience. And to all like the well-meaning people who, if you have a friend, you have a child, you have a loved one who's going out to these protests. I mean, I don't mean like don't tell them this. I'm just trying to get into your head. The well-meaning person. How many people have told me over the past week, be careful, stay safe. Well, that you feel you have to tell me that because I'm going to go sit down in the grass for a couple hours.
That's a problem.
Means that it's exactly what I say it is. It's exactly what we're talking about here. Because if you feel you'd have to tell me that, what do I need to be safe from? What do I need to be careful of? You know it. I know it. It's like a Voldemort. It's the unspeakable. We shall never speak its name. But now its name has been spoken, and we're seeing it for what it actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really like, I don't know. We're kind of dwelling on the point, like we're in it right now.
We're in it.
But yeah, I did. So we keep mentioning Tulane. Did you know, by the way, this is adjacently related, that the Tulane Workers United non-tenure track faculty at Tulane are actually they are actually having their union election next week as well?
No.
Yeah.
Lay like that good week, labor on me.
So starting on May 8th, as of recording, no, as of release of the show, this will be the following, I believe, Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday. The non-tenure track faculty at Tulane University will be having their union elections. They're organized by Workers United, and they're calling themselves Tulane Workers United. They had their, they went public a couple of weeks ago. Many of them have been, disciplined. They're actually being disciplined for or threatened rather by administration. Like, if you go to that protest, you in trouble. We ain't gonna mess around. We're gonna put you on leave immediately.
Cares.
That kind of stuff.
I saw a great, just to not steal your thought, like just real quick. I saw a great picture where it was a notice from UCLA. It said, if you stay, it was this page long thing. If you stay here, you're going to be charged with, trespass, and you'll be charged with trespassing and be suspended. If you're a faculty, you're not going to have a job, blah, blah, blah. Somebody just put in big red Sharpie, they put, I ain't going to read all that, free Palestine.
But still, like you say that, and that is true. Some people will be bold enough to actually stand that, but it is important to note that this intimidation is happening in the midst of a union election that's also ongoing, right? And so there's this sort of like really difficult like balance of, we need to like try and get this dub so that we can get in the negotiations and hold the units together. And then also like, we need to be able to be supportive of our own students who are out there on this line, right?
I see. Yeah, that is difficult.
Yeah, but anyway, like, just wanted to shout them out, solidarity with them. They're they deserve this. They need this, and hopefully they'll get this. So
yeah, we were just
like a hopeful thing kind of in the middle here.
Oh, brother, I'm hopeful now. Like, I'm feeling great now. I know it sounds dour, but no, I'm more energized than ever. There is
supportive of their students. Who is going to be more supportive of their students than teachers, right? That's just
absolutely.
In whatever way makes the most sense, and whatever way is the most appropriate, that's going to be what happens. We are also seeing a lot of unions come out with statements denouncing the police attacks on protesters, and affirming the right to free speech. Which by the way, I love when like free speech warriors, and it's almost like a cliche at this point. The free speech warriors that want to be like, I want to like say the N-word or something like that and be
absolutely.
racist, or like all this other stuff. I'm a free speech like absolutist or whatever the hell. And then like, where are they at now? What's going on? Like, why are they so quiet? I can hear the birds chirping when from the general direction. Nothing's going on.
Oh yeah,
like why?
Yeah,
I don't
no
know.
Ben Shapiro, no.
Where you at, Ben Shapiro?
No Crowder, none of those guys. But the thing is, they don't have any principles anyway. So I like in a conversation, I like to have a good haha chuckle about that. Like, oh, look how hypocritical. That's why I don't talk a lot. I have more smoke and I have more venom for liberals. I don't talk about right wingers that much personally, because I'm not saying we shouldn't. We should all laugh and point at the idiots, but it's not worth anything more than me to have like one or two ha ha ha's. Look at these dummies, and then take a deep breath, get back to reality, and move on, because they had no principles to start with. They're grifters to start with, so you can't shame somebody who's shameless.
What I'm just saying, and I'm not trying to say that they're even possible, but I'm just saying that people who actually do believe in free speech, and when these people start chirping about somebody getting canceled because of doing something racist, actually racist or whatever, like pay attention, liberal or whatever, free speech libertarian, whoever's listening right now, who you hear talking about cancel culture and who you don't hear. That's all I'm saying.
Right. No, you're right. You're 100% right. And that's the people that personally you should be targeting with, agitprop, is not them. If you had access to them, you should talk to the guy at work who listens to Ben Shapiro and Daily Wire. Yeah. You should talk to the guy that you play pickup basketball with, who's got, who's in the Louder with Crowder mug club, because those people are breaking. You can see it. Like, I'm a freak and I live online, and sometimes I hate watch these people. You can see it in their comment section. You can see it in the replies they get to Twitter, to where like, oh yeah, I hate these commies. I hate these blue-haired commies, but they're doing this to them. Tomorrow they'll do it to us. And I'm like, yeah, brother, you're right. Like, that's how it is. So yeah, those are the people that you should go after. But the people who are actually making money off the grift, go after their customers. But the people who are actually in the control the means of the grift production, they had no principles to start with. They don't care. They are the kings of playing in your face. They will play right in your face and tell you that up is down and down is up, until it doesn't suit their purpose to do that anymore. They'll pull a Russell Brand and be a born again Christian after. I not believe that one. That is wild, dude. I'm like, all right, brother. Oh, really? A bunch of women credibly accused you of the R word, and now you're going to and now you're born again. Now you're just retired from Hollywood, and now you're a born again. Oh, okay, bro. Yeah, we see you. I'm
glad you found Jesus, I guess.
Get out of here with this.
It seems totally legitimate.
Foolishness, man. But yeah, there are people who have no shame. So what can you do?
By the way, you did send me some sound earlier. Do you want to set that up?
Yeah, so this is a guy who has a website called Middle Nation. He does like commentary, like talking head commentary about Islam, about foreign policy, about American empire, colonization, stuff like that. He's got kind of he's from America. He has like a pretty shady past. I don't know how much of it's true. I think he lives in Egypt, and he's in the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood until they were banned by Sisi. But he still lives in Egypt. But on this, I listen to him sometimes, and some of the stuff I'm like, whatever. And then other stuff, he's dead on. He's this clip I pulled for you. It's like 7 minutes long. He talks about the protesters. He talks about how they should be feeling. And in this, he's dead. He's right on the money. And anybody who feels, if you're feeling despair or you're feeling sadness right now in this moment, you absolutely shouldn't be. Like, to go back to what I said earlier, we're in the prologue of the revolution, and you should feel overjoyed. Really, you should feel like, good. Now the final boss has appeared, and in video game terms, he's just started to blink red. And now we all get to look at him. We all get to see his attack patterns.
I do want to say this really quick before we begin it too. It's also one of these things that like, you know, we're finally seeing, you know, the final form of Frieza or whatever, and like I want to talk just a little bit to the accelerationists in the crowd, and just say that we did not need to have accelerationism to get here. This was coming no matter what.
Oh, absolutely. Nobody who voted for Bernie or who didn't vote or they didn't accelerate at all, like liberals, because that's what's going to happen. If Joe Biden loses, just to go back to electoralism for a moment, if Joe Biden loses, again, every liberal is going to blame people like you and me, which is absolutely ludicrous. It's going to be they're going to say those damn protesting kids that didn't come out and vote for their own police brutality. That's literally the reason why we have Trump. And now you're going to have Trump again, and you're going to see how bad it's going to get. Baby, it's always been bad. It's always been bad. You want to talk about safety? I've never felt safe as a black man anywhere. So the world's my home. I feel just as safe. I feel just as in danger in this country as I do any other. So don't hit me with that. And
bro,
yeah.
Do you know who Olivia Juliana is?
Who?
She's this woman who used to be with Gen Z for Change. Gen Z for Change is a group that
sounds so whack already.
Okay, no, they're pretty good actually. They started off kind of they're young people for the most part, and they kind of started off as a Biden group, but they've definitely developed over time, and they're super if you look at Elizabeth Joshi from over there, she's definitely always stepping up and putting herself out there in climate protests and
all right, I take it back.
But this woman Olivia Juliana came from there, and she started getting that DNC money, I think, and she basically decided to become the most MSNBC lib that you've ever seen. She used to be one of these people that had abolished ICE, and
so now I reverse take it back.
But now she's posting on Twitter the Vietnam War protests. This is a quote from her.
Ooh, I can't wait. I'm sitting up. I can't wait for
Vietnam
this.
Protests were followed by Richard Nixon becoming president, Republicans dominating politics until the 1990s, and Democrats shifting towards hard-on-crime policies. Y'all want to talk about history, but don't want to talk about how it fits together. And it's just
you know what else it did? You left out something else. It stopped the Vietnam War.
Yeah, and
get out of here.
And by the way, who was it that was supporting the Vietnam? Who was orchestrating the Vietnam War? It was Democrats, bro.
Yeah.
It was literally Johnson and Kennedy. Well, Kennedy not officially, but Johnson and and Nixon was the one that pulled out.
Right.
And I'm not saying that Nixon's good or anything like that, but the protests were against the war. Nobody made LBJ decide to just go after the Viet Cong. He could have.
Yeah.
And it's just one of these sorts of things that this is what they're already doing. The thing that you said, they're already doing the blame for the loss that they see coming. They're already setting that table for it.
No, I've already seen that kind of. I was watching because I'm a complete nerd. I was watching C-SPAN the other day, and they had a guy who was a historian talking about the protests, and one of the C-SPAN callers was like, "These kids, when we were during the Vietnam War, we didn't act like this. We were waving peace flags. We weren't waving Viet Cong flags. We weren't like these kids in their Hamas." And the historian was like, "You're misremembering. If you were there, I guarantee y'all were saying, hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today? Y'all were saying, Ho Chi Minh, the Viet Cong will win." Y'all were absolute I bet people that are still mad at what's her name? Oh my God, Jane Fonda. What are you talking about? It's you are.
Oh yeah, people are still mad at Jane Fonda.
Yeah, you can't just throw stuff down the memory hole. That's really what this, and just to kind of go on a side tangent, if anybody thinks that's really what this TikTok ban is all about, it's about keeping the United States imperial memory hole in check. So when you like that lady who called C-SPAN, she's living in an alternate reality. She's not living even in the reality that she came up in. And she really believes that. So
they don't even want people to be able to right click and save as anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. If you don't, I said this last week. If you don't give a darn about anybody from Palestine, you still better get your people together, because there is going to be. You think that all these people who are threatening these kids, they're going to be the ones to pay the price for this. I don't mean the violence or anything like that. They're going to be the ones. It's going to be like, I'm telling you, you want to compare it to World War II? You want to compare it to Nazi Germany? It's going to be like when these German grandkids go, "Hey, Grandpa, what did you do during the Palestinian genocide?" And their granddad's going to go, "Well, I supported people's right to free." It'd be like, but your Twitter handle here of vote blue no matter who 48 says different. This is forever. What the internet is forever. So all these people popping off, there's going to be nowhere for you to run and hide. I'm telling you now as a warning, this is not going to be good for you.
Yeah. One more thing before we get to the sound, and this is like literally only to make you angry. Please. But it looks right now like the Democrat Chuck Schumer just agreed with Republican Mike Johnson to invite Benjamin Netanyahu to Congress to speak to Congress.
That's gonna be crazy, bro.
Yeah,
he better.
They're gonna pop off. Like if you don't think that, like put fuel on fire.
DC is going to be shut down. Oh,
anyway,
it's gonna be
so here's Steve Bolton from for your suggestion.
Please.
If you could address the student protesters in America, what would be your message to them?
These aren't students. They're teachers. They're using those campuses for what they are truly supposed to be used for: education, refinement, upliftment, intellectual, cultural, and moral excellence, for taking people out of ignorance into understanding. No one's doing that on those campuses more than those young people today, those protesters. They're teaching their own professors. They're teaching their own faculty. They're teaching their own administration. And they're teaching their whole society, their whole so-called civilization. And no, this isn't a civics class. It's not a political science class. It's not an economics class. It's not a class about international affairs or about history. No. They're teaching an anatomy class. And they are dissecting American empire. They're dissecting colonization. And they're showing you the human biology of racist colonialist oppression and the tumor, the malignant tumor of Zionism. And they're teaching you how to remove it. They're teaching you how to remove that tumor. They're teaching a class on the surgical extraction of an ideology that has metastasized in the American body politic for over 75 years and that has been steadily destroying that country for decades.
Hold on a second. Yeah. So, like, when you're talking, he's talking specifically about Zionism. Right. And the only pushback I would have is that the imperialism of America is probably imperialism first and Zionism second.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've had that discussion. The United States does not care about Jews or the state of Israel at all. I mean, they show that to you with the police violence. If all these people were so worried, all these people are so worried about Jews feeling uncomfortable on college campuses, these student movements are led at the vanguard by Jews, and the American government is fine rolling in there and beating them half to death. So they don't care about Jewish lives at all, just like Israel doesn't care about those. They don't care about the hostages. They don't care about none of that. They care about expanding their little colony the same way we want to expand our big empire. It's 100%.
I just wanted to like make sure that like Zionism is like a huge part of that, and it's probably the most easily like recognizable, I suppose, part of the sort of like larger project of imperialism, and it's also like one of the most malicious. I'm not trying to like be like Zionism is not significant or whatever. Like that's
we're in agreement. We're in agreement. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The Zionism is a means to an end.
No, I absolutely, I agree with you. The only people this land matters to is Israelis and Palestinians. This could easily be Puerto Rico for us. This could easily be American Samoa. This could be, the Philippines in the past. We don't care about, the only significance Israel has to us is where it's geographically located, and can we control a piece of that region? That's it.
Well, we can control the most important piece of that region strategically.
Yeah.
But the most heavily armed nuclear power in that region. That's the important part too. Continue.
Little by little, but faster and faster with each passing year, moving even more rapidly, spreading even more rapidly in the past 6 months. And yes, they're teaching you that this tumor developed because the body was susceptible to it, because it was unhealthy to begin with. And they're trying to teach you how to cure yourself. They're trying to teach America how to cure itself, because the cells in the American body politic that mutated into the cancerous support for Zionism that's devouring that country's legitimacy, its credibility, and its viability today, they've been exposed to dangerous elements all along. Carcinogenic elements like white supremacy and bigotry, radioactive global hegemony, Islamophobia, and the parasitic military-industrial complex. Oh, you've been unhealthy for a very long time now. And now that tumor is eating you alive. And those students who are the real teachers of Columbia University, of Harvard, of Berkeley, the Ivy League, and every other university campus that's involved in the protests, they're trying to teach you how to finally save yourselves. But we all know you're going to fight it. We all know that you're too arrogant and too stubborn and too sick to cooperate with your own treatment.
I know I am.
Zionism and the neocons have become like a cancer in the American political brain. So no one expects you to think clearly. So I would tell the protesters, you need to understand where you are right now, what space you have entered, because you've entered the arena of testing. And this isn't the kind of exam that you may be used to. No, this is the arena where your conviction is going to be tested. Your resolve is going to be tested. Your commitment is going to be tested. Your determination is going to be tested.
That's where I get nervous, actually. Because, when it comes to the question of conviction...
I'm scared, buddy. Yeah.
Well, what I mean to say is, like you mentioned, the kids that, the fact that this is based so much in, elite, or future elite culture, the Columbias of the university, they can very and this is a class-based question. It's not about the moral whatever of any of the people that are involved, but they can very easily, when push comes to shove, some of these kids will be like, actually, I got a trust fund and I don't actually need to do this. You know what I mean?
Sure they can, and that's what America is betting on. That's what they're betting. We need to set up mutual aid for them. Honestly.
Yeah.
Keep playing. Play the rest. I know we're running short.
Well, we can put this video on our.
Okay.
We need to wrap it up, but
wrap it
as we kind of go out, Robert.
No, just don't feel discouraged. Keep pushing. Keep doing everything that you're doing, even if it is just saying, "Hey, genocide is bad." Okay, I'm not gonna just I'm not gonna parlay. I'm not gonna discuss why genocide is bad with you. That's at this point you should either on team genocide or team no genocide. There's really no two sides to this. This isn't a well, what are we gonna have on our pizza type deal.
Yeah, and I would say also, just on the way out of here, don't I agree with you, and also don't be kind to your comrades in this struggle. And if it looks don't essentially, here's the thing I'm concerned about, and I got to say this in 1 minute. We see this rising labor movement and this rising anti-war movement happening at the same time, and I also do see a little bit of sniping back and forth between them, specifically from one direction to another. I'm not going to get that any more specific than that. Stop doing that. We're all on the same side. We need to be in the same fight together. We can be critical behind closed doors. We can be chill. We can be cool. But stop going at one another, because this is all of our fight and we're all on the same team here. You hear me?
Bet.
All right. We love you. Good Morning Comrade, WHIVLP New Orleans. We love you.
Bye-bye.
Free Palestine.
Bye-bye. McLaughlin Group.